Hi, my name's Aidan Joseph. I'm the technical director here at Blink Vivid, and for the month of June we're talking about all things documentary. So last week we had our own Will Wade write an article about how to record high quality interview content for documentaries, and this week we're interviewing Joe O'Connor, the director of Dave Goest West. Dave Goest West is a short documentary featuring a man who is slightly overweight, who sets out to run 10 marathons in 10 consecutive days. It's hilariously funny, it's exciting, and yeah, it's a great adventure film, and I'm excited to talk to Joe about the process of making it. So I hope you enjoy it.
Should have on the line now a man who's not out of breath yet, but he's starting a big run in part of his 10 marathons in 10 days, and his name is Dave Cook. Hi Dave, how are you?
Hey, it's very good, Kevin. How are you?
My name's Dave Cook. I come from Baslow in the Peak District National Park, England.
Well, we're running 10 marathons in 10 days.
Who does that kind of stuff?
Keep those legs moving.
Got to stretch.
Just run.
We're going to stretch.
Run.
Good.
I'm actually feeling alright, guys. It's alright.
Sure.
I think if you look at the big picture, it's hard to see how to get there. And sometimes you visualise something which isn't actually going to happen.
It's not about training or athleticism or any of that bullshit. It's about silliness.
Hi Joe, thanks for sitting down to talk with me today about your documentary Dave Goes West. Could you tell me your role in the production and how the film came about?
So I directed it and shot I was two people filming, so me and Ike Walker, who I've known for a few years, and then I also edited it, which was kind of fun, I suppose. Took a long time, but yeah.
Awesome. So
and how the production came about, sorry. So I met Dave years before at a party when he was studying in Sheffield, and he told me about that he was planning to do this big cycle across Southeast Asia, and he needed a cameraman to film it. And I was at college at the time doing a film and TV BTEC, and I drunkenly was like, "Oh yeah, I know how to do that," when I didn't really actually. But that's what you do when you're drunk sometimes. And then the next day he messaged me saying if I was still up for it, and then I was like, "Oh, well, I suppose I should now." So that was maybe 5 years ago, and we'd made a little film together during that trip, and then ever since we were planning to do something else in the future. And then at some point we just started talking. So I don't know how the idea arrived, but we were talking about things he could do, and then I asked him if he could run, how many marathons he thought he could run, and he didn't know. So we sort of arrived at the number 10 because it's just a nice number, and then he said, yeah, why not? And then about 3 months later, we went to Ireland, and he set off, and we just saw what would happen.
Yeah, I love that idea of just kind of like going into like a documentary project like that. You don't really know what's going to pan out, but you just kind of throw a mad idea together and just see what happens. I think that's really cool.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a good approach for some things. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
With this, it's I think it's the only way to do. Well, it's probably not the only way to do it, but it is just watching someone do something like extreme or silly.
Yeah.
And you can't the funny moments and the weird moments. The things that happen actually in real life are better than the things you try and force to happen or plan to happen. So as long as you have like a idea of where you're going, we recce'd a route and stuff like that. So we knew where we were going to go, and we were going to go past nice places and that sort of thing. But yeah, everything else has happened organically, and yeah, we just kept filming everything. And so for that type of project, it felt like the best way to do it. Just sort of be like the fly on the wall and just kind of follow, instead of trying to push anything to happen too much.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So you're the founder of Puzzleglass, is that right?
Yeah, me and then Sam Walker and Callum Shepherd. We sort of
Okay.
all started it together, I guess.
And yeah, tell me a bit about Puzzleglass. It's set up across Sheffield and Athens. What
Yeah.
is it that ties you to both those cities?
Well, we're all from Sheffield, apart from Sam. Actually, he's from Derbyshire, but he lives in Sheffield now. So yeah, I mean that's where we've been working for the last 5 years or so, 4 years maybe, something like that. And then Athens, just because I moved there late last year, and was living there until about 3 weeks ago. I'm now back in the UK to see family and see my girlfriend and stuff. But yeah, it's just it's an interesting city, and I think with documentary stuff, I know I've never been the kind of person who kind of finds a subject online and researches and kind of decides what they want to make a film about. Because I like doing kind of, not necessarily fly on the wall, but I like being invited into an idea or a story, and then, through a personal connection.
Yeah.
And then sort of being involved that way, because it just feels like, it just feels nicer to film it anyway.
Yeah.
If you've been invited, if you're there because of a previous relationship and not because you're persuading a contributor to be in your movie.
Yeah.
And I suppose it's just, I thought it would be a good idea to, get out of Sheffield for a while, because I've lived there my whole life, and not saying it's not an interesting place or not a place where there's interesting stories, but there's something about being somewhere new where you're more outgoing, you meet more new people, you're kind of more up for new things because you're in a new environment. So yeah, I mean that was the main reason really. And then it's a fun place to live, and there's lots of interesting things going on.
Awesome. Were you kind of going through, was Greece in a lockdown like in the same sort of timeline that the UK has been?
They actually started before the UK. And then, not many people died actually in Greece, which is great.
That is
compared
good.
to that. Yeah, I know everyone thought it was going to be a disaster there because it's a slightly clunky country in some ways. It's a bit less organised, and they have lots of social problems. The economy is really bad. There's lots of homeless people. There's a huge, there's lots of refugees living in Athens and this sort of thing. So everyone was very worried, but then the government closed everything down. Maybe 2 weeks before the UK, when they'd only had, I think, less than 100 deaths, maybe less than 50 deaths when they closed everything.
Yeah.
So they kind of got through it, and it was not too bad actually.
Oh, that's all right then. So was it kind of hard to get back over to the UK, or was it just kind of like?
Yeah, I had to. All the direct flights are cancelled, so I had to go via Brussels and get the train. So it wasn't too hard.
Yeah.
It was just a bit of a weird trip through like the plague lands.
Yeah.
Everything's just like totally deserted. Like I think there's about 4 people on the Eurostar from Brussels to London, which was really weird.
That is wild. All right. Anyway, so Puzzleglass as a company, is it primarily a documentary film production company? So
yeah.
What sort of films do you set out to make?
Well, we do bits and pieces of everything. We do music videos sometimes and promo stuff. The kind of things you need to pay the bills. But yeah, that's what we focus on, is the documentary stuff, and normally based around one person doing something. Normally it's doing something interesting or like a cool idea or an adventure or something like that. That's about it. Yeah.
Awesome. So on to Dave Goest West, which I've got you here to talk about. I've just got a few questions to ask about it.
Yeah.
I imagine that you would have captured quite a lot of footage over the course of the 10 marathons. How challenging was it to cut the documentary down to 20 minutes long?
The editing, it took about 1.5 years to do. Not full time, in between other things. Mm-hmm. And at one point, it was about 1.5 hours long. Right. Because it's just one of those things when you go on. It was a very fun trip, and actually, there's loads of stuff that we cut that was funny or we thought was funny, and it can be hard to let go of scenes and things like that you get attached to and you think are great. Yeah. But they might not actually necessarily serve the narrative, or you've got in today's sort of world of sort of the attention economy, you can't faff around. If someone's watching a movie, it has to be great every 10 seconds something has to happen. So it was just a long process really, where I just cut it all together, and then we just slowly chipped away at it. For an hour and a half to 20 minutes. And that 20 minutes, that was because there's a film festival we wanted to get into, and they only had 20 minutes left in the schedule.
Right.
And it was 25 minutes long, and they went, "Oh, we'll play it if it's 20 minutes." So
that's agonising. 5 minutes.
Oh, it's horrible.
Is so much stuff to take out, really.
Yeah, especially when it's only 25 minutes in a 1/5 of your movie, and we sort of managed to do it. It took a couple of days, but we managed to do it without actually removing any scenes, just by taking a second here, 10 seconds, shaving everything. And I think it made it better for that process, because it had to be very brutal with it, but made difficult decisions, but everything had to justify its place and sort of thing.
That's awesome. So was it quite the editing process, was it collaborative, or did you find yourself working on it for long stretches of time and bringing it back to the team?
I was sort of the lead editor on it, and then someone else on our team, Callum, we'd work together on it, and he'd cut some bits together, and then we'd go back and forth a little bit like that. And then we had some great people on the soundtrack. My friend Alex Noble did some really good stuff with it.
All right, brilliant. So I just want to pick your brain a bit about the editing process. Which editing software did you use to cut it?
Premiere Pro.
And how did you find that for editing all of that footage?
I think it's good, actually. I used to use Final Cut. I think Final Cut 10, which is really nice. It's a nice software. But I find, I used to use that when I was making sort of smaller, simpler things at college and stuff. But I found when you end up with more footage, Premiere is really good, because everything doesn't snap together. You can kind of leave stuff in piles over there, and as long as you stay vaguely organised with where everything is, it's sort of more precise and that sort of thing.
Did you grade it in Premiere as well?
Yeah, a little bit. I think we had some problems with the grade. Can't remember what it was. Yeah. Oh yeah, the version that got uploaded wasn't the final graded version, because we had some fafferys with the hard drives and
Right.
Yeah. So there's a version and we made a last minute change, and terrible. Yeah.
Right. So did it get premiered on a platform? Did you have an agreement to have it uploaded somewhere?
We had a bit of a weird process releasing it, actually, because we wanted to make some money off it. So a distribution company picked it up and sold it to some TV channels and things like that. So it aired on Brazilian extreme sports channel. I can't remember what the channel's called.
That's awesome.
6 months before we put it online.
That's
and it was on Amazon Prime and stuff for a long time before we actually released it on Vimeo for free. Just so we could, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much money we've made of Amazon Prime. I think we've made about £3 or something. But
I understand that you really need to get a lot of watches to really make any money off Prime.
Yeah. So, but, it was just a sort of an experiment, and then we put it on Vimeo, and it got, it didn't got millions of views, but I was happy with it. It's hard to get views on Vimeo sometimes.
Absolutely, yeah.
People really enjoy the movie, but we kind of started with film festivals anyway. They went to a few film festivals, and then put it online. When was it? Maybe March or something.
Did the film festival run? Did that help out with getting it in with a distributor?
No, I don't think so.
No,
I don't. The tricky film festivals. I mean, it depends which one you go to, I suppose. But sometimes they can. Sometimes they're really great, and you meet good people there, and you make good contacts.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's. I don't know. I think you just have to research the festivals, because we've had a few films in small festivals that kind of feel like they're more of just a sort of a business for whoever runs the festival to make some money, and not really a valuable networking event or anything like that. And it's nice that people watch the film and stuff, but we ended up spending more money than we should have on some festivals. And we should have been more selective and just chosen 5 and researched them and got in touch with the people, instead of blanket sending it to loads.
Yes, yeah. That's interesting anyway. So in terms of like actually, you've got all this footage, you've got all these interviews. How did you go about kind of carving out the themes and the narrative of the story?
I mean, to be honest, it was quite easy because it's chronological.
Mhm.
You know, it's always going to be one thing after the other.
Yeah.
The 10 marathons. So actually, the story itself, not very difficult. It was more like how to show it in an exciting way.
Yeah.
I mean, a man running down a road isn't inherently very interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
Not very quick, just sort of plodding, especially with marathon running, you're kind of plodding along.
Mm-hmm.
So it was more about like how to keep it interesting the whole time, how to make it fun, and then also sort of show that it is a long way. Because if it's too quick, it just seems really easy.
Yeah.
So it's like picking and choosing what you leave in the film to show. Oh, it was difficult. It was also fun, and
As a small crew, there weren't many of you were there working on it.
No.
How did you work around the challenge of actually following Dave and Chris and capturing the footage of each marathon?
Well, we had Sam, who's sort of the producer, photographer, and did a bit of the filming, and his twin brother Ike, who's a filmmaker. They were on bicycles, so they could kind of go anywhere and hover around and sort of always be quite present. And then I was in a van with my friend Tom, who was just there to be the driver, and he was also the spiritual guide. We kept calling him because he's a bit of a hippie, so he wears like funny trousers and stuff. So he'd drive the van, and I'd just sit in the back of the van with the doors open, so I could film out of the back of the van, and we'd just hover, and we'd pull up in front of them for a bit, and I'd ask them questions, or we'd just film and see what happened.
So did you kind of pick out some roads that you knew were probably going to be fairly quiet, so it wouldn't really matter if you're kind of like creeping along with your van?
Well, I mean, the thing is, that part of the world, you've got the Wild Atlantic Way, which is a really famous road that goes all the way up the coast. And people come from, there's lots of Americans and people coming from all over the world to see the old country and drive up that road.
Right, yeah.
So it's a small, narrow country road, but it's actually quite busy because people come and it's the main road up the coast as well, so people are commuting up it.
Right.
So quite often we'd have like a queue of cars behind.
Really?
Behind the runners. Yeah, we'd be in the van in front of them, and then there'd be a queue of cars behind them, and we'd film, and then we'd have to drive off and pull over somewhere, and then everyone would overtake us. And
yeah.
So we were a bit of a nuisance, actually, probably.
That's funny. Yeah, what cameras did you shoot the documentary on?
It was shot on a Sony FS5 and a Sony A7S.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they work really well together. And then the FS5 you can kind of keep rolling for a long time. You're not worried about the batteries and the cards and stuff. Mm-hmm. And it has better... we don't have a sound guy, so we sort of needed something that had decent audio built into it with a good mic and stuff. And then we also recorded audio on some... what were they? Oh, these like little Rode... We've seen these Rode Video Link Pros.
Yeah, we've got...
Which were really good. Actually, not that good, because they only lasted a day or 2 days, and then they broke.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Not the actual recorder, but the cable. It was in Dave had a running pouch on, and it was in the pouch, and just the gentle nudging as he ran, it fucked the cable up. And we had a spare cable, and it fucked that up.
Oh,
and that was
no.
in 2 days. Yeah, and then the audio, so we just had to work around it.
Yeah. God, that must... Oh, that would have been so frustrating.
Oh, yeah, it was. And we were trying to order... We're in the middle of nowhere. Where were we? Like Ballybunion or something on the west coast. And we were trying to like find the right replacement cable and like order it.
Yeah.
Or like get someone to like fly to Ireland to like give it to us. And then we were like, oh, this is too expensive. And like, it's not going to happen. We ended up ordering one cable to some relatives I have further up the coast. But then it didn't actually work, the cable, because you had to have this certain cable that comes with the kit and all that kind of shite.
Yeah.
But it was okay. We just sort of had to work around it. And yeah, I think we missed quite a lot of good dialogue, though. So that's why I wanted that you'd be able to shoot a landscape shot and hear them talking as they ran across the background. So we were able to do sort of have that extra level of sort of chatting, which is a
Yeah.
shame.
Yeah, that is a shame. Although you still obviously managed to have like loads of really, really good, really silly dialogue a lot of the time.
Yeah, just had to spend more time, in the van in front of them to get that stuff.
So you had to just kind of adapt like midway
Yeah.
through to kind of accommodate to that. Okay, good. Yeah, so in terms of the kind of cost of production, did you just like fund it all yourself, or did you have to raise some funds to kind of do that?
Well, we tried to raise some funds initially before we set off, but I mean, I'm sure you might have had this problem before. It is hard to convince someone to give you money to make documentaries, especially when
Absolutely.
it's not related to them in any way. It's like, and it's when it's an idea like this where it's just like, oh, my mate's quite funny, believe me,
Yeah.
it'll be nice, it'll be fun. There's nothing we didn't really have anything to show for it,
Yeah.
before. We'd made one film when I was doing a BTEC, which is, obviously quite sloppy because it was the first documentary I'd ever made. So it's not a very good thing to it's going to be like this.
Yeah.
So we'll hopefully make another film with Dave and it'll be easier the second time because we've got the first film. We can go, it's going to be like this, but bigger, easy, or easier. But when it's, I've got a mate called Dave. I can remember writing pictures and just writing crap like, not just not knowing how to say it and just, wanting to write, my friend's really funny and he's really great on camera. You'll just have to trust me. Give me some money, please. That's kind of what you want to say. But but in the end, it wasn't very expensive to make it all because it's basically just the price of a holiday to Ireland. It was just the flights over there, getting the van over there, and then staying in hostels for 10 days. So, we all just sort of paid our own way and did it that way, and it was fun.
That's cool. That's cool that you're all feeling quite passionate about the project, so everyone just wanted to muck in and get involved.
Yeah, I mean, we were all friends before. I mean, Ike and Sam went to school with Dave. I've known Dave for years. We'd all come up with the idea at the same time. Like, we'd all talked about it since the start. I wasn't hiring a camera crew to come with me or anything like that.
Yeah.
It was our baby anyway. So it wasn't, it didn't feel like, no one felt like they were being ripped off or exploited or anything like that. Because it felt like a holiday, really. Everyone had a great time and
It must be a lot easier on set to work with a team where you're all so tight knit and kind of understand each other as well.
I mean, I think it probably depends on what you're doing. For something like this, I think so.
Yeah.
I'd imagine for more complicated or stressful projects, it can be great to work with your friends, but it can also be really bad because you can't. There's less clear chain of, who's in charge.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to tell your mates what to do, and they don't want to listen, and I don't want to listen to them telling me what to do.
Yeah.
Mates, and it's just like, who the fuck do you think you are?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good to have that trust and that bond, and sort of know you're all in it together. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So I was going to ask as well. You kind of said you stayed in hostels along the way. I saw it also mentioned that you have family in Ireland. Did you stay with any of them as you were going along?
We stayed. Hang on, did we? Yeah, we spent one night with someone in Galway, which was nice. I've got some second cousins there. My dad's Irish, so he's got lots of cousins.
Yeah.
He's got 40 cousins or something. So yeah, we stayed with someone on one day during the trip, but then it was more the before and after. Most of my family in Dublin. So we actually had a family reunion 2 days before the trip started. And I think Dave came to the family reunion. I think he probably put on about 2 stone because everyone just kept like feeding him.
Yeah, fueling him up.
All these old biddies wouldn't be able to finish their dinner, and then they'd be like, "Oh, sure, you'll need it. You're running all this way. It'll be good for you." And then he'd have like 3 dinners and like 10 pints of Guinness every night for a few days.
That's hilarious. So at what stage did you meet the goat? When did that come into play?
That was when was that? Day 8, I think.
Right,
and we stayed in that hostel for a couple of nights.
Oh, so that goat was like living at the hostel, I see.
Yeah. The goat was part of the They're not there anymore, unfortunately. I don't know where they are. I went back over to that bit of the last summer. I went back over to Ireland and I wanted to look up Go Go the Goat and Sam who worked at the hostel. But yeah, they'd gone. I don't know what's happened to them.
Yeah, you never know if they even get to see the doc.
No, yeah, I haven't been able to get in touch with them or anything.
Oh, that's mad. What a shame. All right. Yeah, I just wanted to ask about kind of, as a documentarian, when you're kind of filming topics like these, like obviously parts like the bleeding nipples were horrific, but they made for really great content in the doc. How did you find kind of balancing your emotions when it came to watching Dave suffer, but also knowing that you were probably capturing some really compelling parts of the overall story?
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, really. I mean, the actual bleeding nipples, I wasn't too worried because he was just still having a great time.
Yeah.
And he just thought it was funny, so I didn't really worry about that. And it looks bad, but like it looks a lot worse than it was. I think it looks really dramatic, but it's not like a real injury. You know, it's kind of superficial.
For sure.
It was more later on as he got more tired when he'd be like stumbling a lot, and it was you have that moment where you're like, do we throw the towel in for him because he's clearly not going to do it himself. He's very stubborn, and like, are we going to like run our friend to death in order to make a movie? That's a bit stupid. So yeah, there was a couple of moments where I was like, should we be doing this? And we haven't really got it in the film, but there was one day where his friend Chris had to stop running because he had a knee injury. And we didn't really put it in the film because we didn't have enough time in these 20 minutes. I ran the last, I think it was like 10K of one of the marathons with him because it was the first time he was on his own, and it just felt a bit grim.
Yeah.
And I was like filming him like huffing and puffing and stumbling and stuff. And then so I kind of like stopped filming and like just ran the last bit with him to give him someone to talk to, which I think helped because just when you're on your own and you're in your own head, it can get more difficult. But when you're chatting with a mate, it's kind of okay.
Yeah. Time passes more quickly, I'd imagine.
But towards the end, he got faster towards the end. So those runs were kind of around number 7 or something. It was the worst one. And then the 8th and 9th were the fastest. So it was just crazy. So I stopped worrying after that. We knew he was going to be fine.
I loved that bit of the doc where he just kind of went into beast mode, I think you called it.
Yeah.
Like, it's so good when he was like charging towards the camera. You said something actually. You said something in, I think it was your BBC Sounds interview, that honestly it just had me in stitches. You were describing Dave on, I think, that 7th marathon when he was in warthog mode.
Oh yeah.
You said he was shirtless, red, huffing and puffing. And then you went on to say he stopped using his elbows and neck muscles and started flopping around. I just love that description. It was just like, it just gave me such a brilliant image in my mind.
Well, that was the most alarming moment, I think, when he was doing that. It was really weird. And I kind of thought he was going to fall over at any moment. And it is one of those things with a film like this when it's, that marathon took 6.5 hours. So, and then the scene in the film is 3 minutes long or something, maybe.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to show, like, someone's in that state, you have a few shots of them flopping around. But he was doing that for like 2 hours. Yeah. It's hard to kind of show that in a film like this,
Yeah.
Without, I always try to avoid being in the films myself.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like, some people do it very well, but I don't really like, I like trying to make the documentary like this that doesn't rely on narration.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know, for me, I like it when a film feels like a film and you understand what's going on just by what the people are saying and what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I've always, not judging anyone else who does this, because it works very well for some people, and it can, some of the best documentaries have a narrator, like the Werner Herzog and stuff. But I always feel like I want to try and avoid doing that, and I want to find a way of editing and filming to show, instead of me going, Dave's been running for 2 hours now, and we're getting a bit worried about it.
Yeah. No, I like that artistic choice, that aesthetic for sure. I think it was right for the documentary as well.
Although it does create a lot of issues. I mean, that's why it took a year and a half to edit it.
Yeah.
And when people watch it, you wouldn't think it'd taken that much work to make.
Mm-hmm.
But that's because, that rule of, like, don't use voiceover means you have to really, like, it's difficult for it not to be confusing sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you have to sort of really sift through the footage to kind of find those snippets that kind of progress the narrative without just being able to, like you said, just explain it. Yeah, yeah, I can understand that challenge, yeah, for sure.
And also kind of cutting around your own mistakes at the time, which is always very painful when you see a shot that you, in hindsight, you're like, oh, that was really good. And then you fucking, at the time, move away and erratically go and film something else. And you go, oh, you should have held that,
Yeah.
And you have to sort of edit around all that stuff, which is a bit annoying sometimes. Yeah.
All right. Also, the marathons were raising money for Action Against Hunger. How did you go about fundraising for the charity at the time?
I mean, that was sort of more Dave's area of what he was doing. So he was posting about it online and sending the stuff out to all his friends and contacts. And when we all did that a bit as well, sharing the fundraising page and then having, wearing the shirts on the trip. I think we raised the most money. I can't remember exactly how much, but we got a lot just from people giving us euros on the side of the road.
Oh, man.
And there's a little bit of that in the movie, but because people go, oh, what are you doing? And, oh, we're running for this charity. And then, especially these tourists, because there's loads of tourists around there.
Yeah.
You have like an American lady kind of whip out a €50 note and just like give it to Dave, and then we donate from our bank account onto the onto the Just Giving page.
Did you have a way for people to kind of follow the progress at the time, like how he was getting along?
Yeah, sort of. We kind of had bigger dreams for that than what ended up happening. We were going to do lots of live streams every day, and we were posting every day where we were and a few photos and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's quite difficult when it's kind of a full-time job in itself to do that.
Alongside doing the doc as well.
Yeah, and you kind of have to make a decision at some point, like, do you concentrate on just making the film as well as you can, or do you concentrate on the film and half concentrate on social media stuff? So we kind of made the decision, like, let's make the film really well. If we do a trip again like that in the future, we'll bring someone whose whole thing is to do the social stuff, because that's with the fundraising, the time where you're going to make the money is when it's happening.
Yeah,
we've barely made any donations. People watching it at a festival 2 years later, they're not going to go and find your Just Giving page.
No, for sure.
They might do if your film is specifically about a cause. Mm-hmm. They might be inspired to donate, but like he's already done the running, a while ago.
Yeah.
So I think in future, we'd maybe do stuff on Twitch or something and have more of a live feeling to everything.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
And try and rack up more donations that way, because people sort of see the suffering as it happens.
Real time.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And feel like they're part of it in a way, they're watching it and they can message and that sort of thing. It's really cool that that's possible nowadays.
Yeah, awesome. So, just a final question on the documentary. What has kind of been the response? How has it received, and film festival success? How has it been?
Yeah, it's gone quite well, really. It's got a good rating on Amazon Prime and stuff. We won a couple of awards at some film festivals for it, which was nice. And it did okay online. Like it hasn't got lots of views, but it's got lots of nice comments, and I put it on Reddit and people really liked it.
Yeah,
lots of people.
I came across that thread on Reddit. It seemed like it was like really well perceived by people that you got it in front of, for sure.
Yeah, so that's I didn't feel like we'd broken through or anything like that, but I felt happy with how it had gone because like you say, the people who'd seen it really liked it, and that's the important thing.
Yeah,
I'd rather that 10,000 people watch it and get something out of it than 1 million people watch the first 2 minutes of it, and
yeah. Brilliant. All right, so just kind of to round off things, do you have a next documentary project that you're working on at Puzzleglass?
Well, we want to do another film with Dave, I mean, the Corona situation isn't it's not the best time for making adventure films. I mean, that's a small, people have much bigger problems right now, so I'm not moaning. But hopefully we'll have something going at the end of the year. The idea at the moment is to recreate the story of the first marathon, which is in Greece. And do you know the story of the first marathon?
I don't actually. No.
It's wild. Well, there's many versions of it. This is the thing. This is what the film would be about: is finding what really happened, which is obviously impossible. But there's a town called Marathon, 26 miles away from Athens. So that one of the versions is the Persian army were invading, and they didn't have horses back then. They didn't in Greece. They didn't have domesticated horses. So the fastest way to get a message was for someone to run with a message and tell someone what's happening. Yeah. So a runner, and they had a special type of soldier who was basically an ultra marathon runner, and they just trained long distance running all day. That was their life. So they had this runner called Phidippides, ran from what was it? He ran from Marathon to Athens and back again, or something like that, to deliver the message that the Persians are coming. Go to Athens, get the army, go back to Marathon. The army's coming to help, kind of thing.
That's wild.
And then he died at the end. That's the story. He collapsed when he
ran himself to death
deliver the good news. Yeah, but then the other story is that before he did so that's 2 marathons, and the other one is that before he went from Athens to Marathon, he went from Athens to Sparta, which is 250 kilometers, to ask the Spartans to come and help the Athenians to fight the Persians, and the Spartans went, no, we're doing something else. We're having a party. I think they're having a festival or something.
Right.
We're not fighting. We can't fight this week. And then he ran back to Athens and told the Athenians, and they went, oh, bloody hell, well, we're counting on those guys. And then he had to run from Athens to Marathon to tell them, oh, you need to change the tactics because the Spartans aren't coming. And then they won, and then he fought in the battle, and they won the battle. Then he came back to Athens and went, oh, we won, and then he died.
Yeah, that sounds like you could piece that together in quite an entertaining way, though.
Well, it'd be kind of like we'd go and we'd just ask Greek people, what's the story of the first marathon? Yeah. And, everyone has I've asked lots of people this, and they all say something different.
Really? That's cool.
Yeah. So we just it'd be an endless journey of oh, you do this. Oh, we're finished. No, you're not finished. You really did this. Okay, Dave, off you go. That sort of thing.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, nice one, Joe. I think we'll wrap it up there.
Okay, great.
Thank you very much for sitting down to talk with me today. Just in the way that anyone watching this, where can they kind of find your stuff, and Dave Goest West, where can they watch everything? Oh, yeah, just on Vimeo, or you can go on our website, puzzleglass.com, or type Puzzleglass into Google and you should find our Vimeo, our YouTube channel. We don't put very much stuff on YouTube, but the Vimeo page is where our best stuff is. So I'd say go there. Yeah. And awesome. We've got the Facebook and Instagram and all that. And they can also watch it on Amazon Prime. Yeah, if they want to.